go to that edge of craziness and maybe even going over the edge of craziness.
And I kept asking my grandfather, like, when will it end? And he was telling me when the great Inquisitioner is going to appear. That will be like towards the end. And I was like, when is he coming? When is he coming?
Difficult question, especially when you have such a reference in your mind, imprinted in your body. Hello everyone and welcome back to the newest episode of What's on Vienna, your immersive guide in sometimes overwhelming world of classical music and arts events in the city. Today we will talk about the first half of March, and afterwards in the second part of the episode we will probably discuss the events we recently attended and share our thoughts and reflect on the concert experience in general.
I'll go first. As per our mini tradition, somehow I am the one who's starting the whole time with operas, but hey, why not? So, I will repeat my usual disclaimer. If you are not flexible with your dates, with your time, and you really want to go and experience the Vienna Staatsoper, to see the architecture, to experience the house, as they say, any production is going to be good or great or wonderful, depending on how lucky you get, so just go. However, if you have flexibility, there is one production in the first half of March that I would absolutely not miss, and this is an opera by Verdi, Don Carlos. And what makes it so special is that the legendary Elena Garanca, the fantastic mezzo-soprano, will be singing. It opens on the 13th of March, like I said, and is definitely a beautiful experience. Elena Garanca has a cult following worldwide, but is absolutely adored in Vienna. However, Don Carlos is an opera for, I would say, more experienced listeners, since it is the longest of the Verdi operas. My personal anecdote would be that this was the first opera that I've ever attended and listened live at the Tbilisi State Opera many years ago. I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old, definitely not 10. And it was one of the worst experiences I've had up until that point. It was painfully torturously boring for me as a child. I knew I had to be on my best behavior, but there was nothing exciting about it, which is a pity, because it was sung by the legendary Georgian bass Bata Burtuladze, who has celebrated his 70th birthday just recently, and at the time he had happened to be visiting Tbilisi, and it was a huge deal that he was singing in this magnificent opera, and people were desperate for tickets, and we went with my whole family, and including my grandparents, and it was just horrible for me. I couldn't wait for the opera to finish, and it just never ended, basically. And then it took me years to find strength to somehow be more interested in re-exploring this piece. But then when I did, of course, I fell in love with it, and I'll absolutely try my best to attend on the 13th. I think I will definitely attend on the 13th, yes.
But tell me, nothing captured
Nothing.
Your imagination?
Nothing.
Okay.
I was just, you have obviously breaks right between the acts, and I kept asking my grandfather, like, when will it end? And he was telling me when the great Inquisitioner is going to appear. That will be like towards the end, and I was like, when is he coming? When is he coming? And he just wasn't coming, and then eventually he appeared in like a red costume, and I was like, oh my god, finally. But then I didn't realize he will have to sing also a lot until everybody dies. So yeah, nothing.
I see. Oh, it must be so cute, little Mariam waiting for the Inquisitor.
No, I doubt it.
Oh my god, yeah, it's a very fun story. On the 4th of March in Konzerthaus, there is a concert of the world-famous pianist, one of the top pianists probably.
Absolutely.
Legendary Mitsuko Uchida, with a wonderful program of Beethoven, Schoenberg, Kurtak and Schubert. Quite eclectic, but I think it's very nice combination. And also, I mean, obviously it has this Viennese theme going on.
Some people don't remember this or don't realize that she has a deep connection to the city. Mitsuko Uchida moved to Vienna when she was 12 because her father happened to be ambassador of Japan to Austria. And so she studied here. She then stayed for her university or conservatory studies, and is basically deeply rooted in Viennese tradition. It happens to be one of those super international but really Viennese musicians, deep at heart and in deep at soul.
Yeah, and of course she's also very famous for her recordings of Mozart and the last
Schubert and Beethoven. The first time I heard her live was her performing the legendary Beethoven Diabelli Variations, which is the longest solo piano piece.
Was it in Vienna?
It was in Musikverein. It was absolutely epic. So she is a legend, absolutely well deserved, phenomenon in piano world. So highly recommend to attend that.
Also incredible personality off stage, and the last time I've heard her was with Mozart Sonata and Sonatas and Fantasy, I think a few years ago in Musikverein, and it was wonderful. What's interesting that she also plays the last Schubert Sonata 960.
True.
And if you watched our previous episode, you know that Rudolf Bubinder is playing the same sonata, the legendary sonata, just a few days before. So, I mean, it's really such a fantastic possibility to experience these beautiful pieces performed
basically
by the world, I don't know, like this amazing pianist, like 2 days apart.
If you are into piano music, into Schubert, into piano repertoire, don't miss that. That will be really quite something. Yes. Okay, I will continue now again with vocal world. And my next part has to do with the genre that we have not mentioned on the podcast yet, which is operetta. Now, operetta, as many of you know, is between opera and musical theater, basically Broadway shows. It is much shorter. The storylines are even more silly than in opera and make even less sense, if I may say so myself. Well, they're often romantic, right? Like it's like love stories, like very strange situations. Of course, this genre reached incredible heights in Vienna. A lot of people that associate the genre with Vienna, but it was actually born in Paris in France, and the first really established operetta composer was Jacques Offenbach, who happens to be French. I have a personal story about Offenbach. Probably the most embarrassing thing that happened to me on stage up to this point is related to Offenbach. So as a student, I had this side job, like little engagement in Paris, in banlieue, in the suburb of Paris, to accompany a production of 2 Offenbach operettas. So they didn't have budget for a whole orchestra, so they hired me as a pianist to play both operettas. Nice production, everything's fine. So on the day of the performance, I'm already dressed, in my nice concert pants at the time, I remember, and I'm on the escalator in metro, ready to change. And as I'm transferring, somebody pushed me, and I fell down, and somehow my pant leg got stuck in the, in the escalator, and the pant completely ripped. So I arrived at the theater, but I'm thinking to myself, this is a theater. They will have, a needle, thread. I can sew it up, tape it up, glue it, I don't know, something, nothing. I didn't manage to do any of that. Of course, it wasn't just ripped, the knee was also bleeding, like the whole thing exposed. And so at the end, when we had to take a bow, I was absolutely ashamed to show, this horrible knee. I was trying to cover it. Of course, it didn't work. Everybody noticed. So this is my Offenbach story.
That sounds horrible.
Enough of that story. The Volksoper in Vienna, which we talked about last time, is doing very interesting set of basically crème de la crème of the operettas by all of the main operetta composers. So on the 6th of March, it's doing the Fledermaus, or the Bat, by Strauss. 7th is the Offenbach, Orpheus in the Underworld. On the 8th, it's the Charles Queen of Kalman. And on the 13th, it's the Otto Nicolai Merry Wives of Windsor. All of these operettas are like the best of the best. Like I said, you know, nice music, fun, this and that. As a kid, I remember I absolutely hated operetta. Really, like there was no end to the hatred I had for the genre. I thought it was boring and kitschy and just terrible, and for grandparents, partially because my grandparents loved operetta, and I was like, ugh. And now that I'm getting older, I realized that I do enjoy operetta very much. So this might be a test of, you know, how you're aging or not, you know, whether you start liking operetta. I absolutely love it. It's just so light and so silly and so not serious. And the melodies are so easy to listen to, you know. You are in a different time period. The costumes are beautiful. Also in operetta, of course, they have to dance a lot, you know. It's like in opera, obviously no one does that. So it's like an active, cheesy, still very kitschy genre. But, you know, sometimes a little bit of kitsch is nice. It's pleasant.
Yeah.
Something cheesy can be very
Sometimes
pleasant.
even necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I was in Volksoper was very long time ago, but I remember that was the operetta of Otto Nicolai, the Merry Wives.
It's very nice. It's a very good one. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't remember much, but I remember phenomenal solo by the concertmaster.
What, you don't remember the deep storyline? There is a spoiler alert, no deep storyline.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Yeah,
it's fun. It can be so much fun.
Of course.
It's like going to movies, you know, in a way, a little bit.
But it's very interesting that they have this selection, like there
must be some reason. I don't know. I didn't actually, to be fair, find out why they programmed it like that. But it looks like fun. I will definitely be going to one of this. Definitely, probably to the Orpheus in the Underworld of the Offenbach to again close my trauma with Offenbach. And honestly, this is the only one I have not heard live, and I'm curious. Yeah, that's
so the March is your month of recreating traumatic experience and hopefully rewriting the story of your life.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
That's nice. That's very nice.
So
New beginning, spring. Yeah. Okay, so the next concert, of course, my favorite time of the episode is the concert by Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra.
Fangirl here.
I need a shirt. I really need a shirt. So another phenomenal program with Yannick, Nézet-Séguin, and Yefim Bronfman, Beethoven's Third Piano Concerto, and Ein Heldenleben, Hero's Life by Strauss. So really fantastic. It's amazing program. Yes. It's really amazing, and I'm very curious about the combination of this particular conductor with the orchestra as well as a pianist.
Yes.
So I
Exciting.
think actually I can't attend it, but.
Well,
Yeah, I will
can,
see.
So.
Yeah, you will tell me. I trust.
Sorry.
I trust. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
When is it?
Yeah. It's on the 15th of March. But
Nice.
maybe I will try. We'll see. Okay, and we have two more concerts.
Yeah, so once again, I'm back with more vocal stuff. So in Vienna Konzerthaus this time, on the 2nd of March, the probably most cherished at the moment, most famous young soprano, Nadine is going to be performing a recital with Brian Wagern on piano. I was going to say that this is going to be a lead, or in English, art song recital, but it is actually not just art songs. She's also going to be performing a couple of arias from operas. Definitely very interesting. For voices, oftentimes the recordings misrepresent the quality of the singer, the tone and the way their voice affects you in a live space is just completely different from the recording. So the recordings really can misrepresent the voices, even more so than instrumentalists or orchestras. So this is one of the very famous singers that I have not heard live I'm very curious. I'm, of course, very well of her tremendous success and a great career and her recordings. I'm very interested in experiencing her live, but sometimes it so happens that you're very interested in catching someone live and you just can't because it's like the universe is against it. You are never in town, something happens, you just can't do that. She happens to be one of those performers. She's not in Vienna very often, in my opinion. She was here this season. I was not in town, and now I'm looking at the date, 2nd of March. I'm again not in town, so I will have to miss her. But I hope you will not miss her. So if you are into beautiful, gorgeous soprano voices with piano accompaniment, and of course the beautiful architecture of Wiener Konzerthaus, definitely a lovely concert to go to. Like I said, I wouldn't have missed it. Out of town. I'm very curious to experience her live at some point, hopefully next season. I don't know. Very sad that it doesn't work.
That's very interesting topic of how different might be recordings from the performances.
Yeah,
I believe it also true for the instrumentalist.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, just from the different aspects.
Yeah, it is different, but it's like even more so different for the voice. You know how sometimes when you hear yourself speak on like a recording and this, you get shocked, by how different it is. It's not, of course, that effect, but it's similar, in that direction. How different it can be. Too bad for me.
Yeah. So, and the last recommendation for today is the concert on the 6th of March, again in the Konzerthaus. The concert of the world-famous string quartet Ebène. Beautiful program. One of the pieces is Beethoven's Opus 18, I think, with
nice.
a beautiful second movement, and it's really great string quartet. And in generally, I think that chamber music is very often underrated by the general audience, by the general population. But of course, real music connoisseurs are really, usually it's the favorite genre of classical music.
I have immense respect, of course, to our colleagues in string quartet genre, because we are primarily focused on piano trio genre, since I'm a pianist. But string quartets, of course, are incredibly dedicated to their craft, to music, and also to the quartet. These are people who spend numerous hours, like at least 4 or 5 hours a day, right? Like daily, for decades. Working on their craft to make the group sound as one. The dedication, the amount of work, the amount of respect to each other as musicians and humans that it takes to build up a string quartet is unbelievable. So these are the groups that deserve our utmost respect, and the successful great string quartets are just pure magic. And of course, Quartet Ebène is definitely one of those examples.
Yeah,
it's going to be a wonderful concert for sure.
If you're interested, there are quite a few exciting documentaries about the string quartet live. Maybe I will then add a comment with a link to one of those. Sure. It's very exciting how it works. Of course, it's very similar to, it is a chamber music experience, but quartet is something very special, of course. So that's it for today. Thank you. Please like, follow, subscribe.
And stay tuned for the next part.
Yes, the next part.
Welcome back to the second half of our episode, the review segment. Of all the events mentioned in the previous episode, there was one that Vira and I were able to attend together. That was Tosca at the Vienna Staatsoper with the 2 legendary superstar singers, Piotr Pejala and Sonia Yoncheva.
Yeah, but before we go into that topic, we would like to ask you about the most memorable live experience with a concert or opera, and please elaborate on the reasons why was it so impressive for you. Yeah, so the Tosca, exactly, and
Yeah, to give you a little bit of context, it was traditional costumes, traditional decorations, traditional sets, everything. Traditional, typical, classical, beautiful, strict, precise staging. What did you think?
it was a very good performance. In general, I really enjoy going to the opera. I like the atmosphere, the people.
People were so
the
dressed up
building.
this time. People
This
are usually
time was-
quite dressed up, but
yeah.
this time they were really dressed up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, interesting. Why? What would be the reasons for
Lots
that?
of beautiful outfits. Yeah.
So yeah, the atmosphere is beautiful, and yeah, the theater. I mean, it's always fun to go to the theater. As you always say, that at the Vienna State Opera House, the performances are starting from good to the exceptional ones, and I think it was a very good performance. But with this type of music and storyline, I think there is a danger for it to become a bit comical.
Grotesque.
Grotesque,
even.
yes. If you don't really take risks in acting and in singing, and you don't really go to that edge of craziness, and maybe even going over the edge of craziness. Because the scene, the jealousy, all the stereotypes, I mean, these lines, it's if you are approaching that material with a more moderate coldish attitude, it's very hard to believe for the modern audience that it's true, and it's of course always essential with performances to believe the artist. So that was my impression.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that, yeah.
Yet another anecdote for me. I think I was 13 or 14. I received a birthday gift, which was definitely a re-gift from like one of those strange friends, like a parent's friend's daughter or something. And she gave me this set that completely had nothing to do, this person, with music or opera. She got me this beautiful set of Tosca recording, which happens to be probably the recording of Tosca, which had Maria Callas, Di Stefano, Tito Gobi, Tullio Serafin conducting, the La Scala Orchestra and choir. Yeah, beautifully produced CD set. And it had also the pamphlet with text, like very old school, and the pictures and everything.
Oh,
I
nice.
used to listen to that recording a lot, like religiously, probably. And this was the recording that was that had the qualities, all of them, of what you said. It was risky, it was crazy, it was super believable, passionate, over the top. And then many years later, I also got to see the video part of it. And when you connect the video, oh my God, the crazy eyes, the over the top, but in a very good way, acting and like really just going for it, and the drama and the boiling and the energy, and you're like, it's like overwhelming almost. So to me, this is how I have Tosca in my mind's eye. And then to see a very correct, coldish, performance is a little bit of a different experience. Not to say it's not good, it was very good. Like you said, very good. But then you have this, extra something. Of course, that performance of Maria Callas, Di Stefano, is not just good because it's so daring and crazy. It's also extremely precise and phenomenally sung and beautifully played from the orchestra, and everything that's meant to be there is there. This huge variety of color, emotion, dynamic, fast, and believable. But I was just going to ask you, do you think that for modern day people, especially younger people even, these kinds of storylines can be believable?
Yes, I think it's in power of the artist to make it believable, especially when the singing is, when the music is part of it, because
True,
I mean,
true.
otherwise, of course, just purely
As a
dialogues.
theater play,
No,
of
obviously. But I mean, it can be. I mean, from this recording of Callas, it's just
So captivating.
it's extremely believable. This crazy patience and the reasons for that. You believe it, you go for it. I mean, you don't have a chance, because I mean,
It has to be very daring. Yes, I completely agree with you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's a very difficult question, especially when you have such a reference in your mind, imprinted in your body. But tell me, was it after Don Carlos the second opera experience?
No, very personal. Many,
so what happened? What happened in
between.
those 4 years that you started to like opera?
Good question. I don't know. You know, not very many live performances I attended, but a lot of recordings. At the time, recordings were really a big thing in a way that they were not so easily accessible, you know. Like you had still LPs, you had still cassettes, you had CDs, the YouTube was not there really to give you what you wanted. And then little by little I started discovering through recordings, not really seeing maybe the full performances, but just an aria here, an aria there, like maybe concertante.
I see.
Like that definitely.
And what do you think makes a performance memorable for you personally? What are the elements that should be there as a listener? What do you react to?
Memorable or good?
Memorable. I want to talk just about the exceptional experiences. I am interested just in that.
So the more concerts you attend, the more you expect somehow, of course, obviously. The easier it is for the performers to lose you, or me in this particular case, as a listener. So I get in a way bored very easily, very quickly, unless I am feeling this very believable energy and a certain level of performance. Now, what makes it memorable is something unexpected. As musicians, we are very, trained to hear music in certain particular ways. If it's pieces that we play ourselves, there are certain ways we finish the lines in our mind's eye, or like how we think about music. So if something happens that I don't expect but is very, very good, that is of course memorable. It might be even inspiring. It might be something I might want to copy or try out at home. And then very rarely, extremely rarely, almost impossibly rarely, you have performances where you hear something magical and surprising in a very good way, and you have no idea how it was done. And particularly rare it is to hear something on your instrument. It almost never happens. Does happen. When it does happen, you never forget it.
That's big.
Because you're like, wow, what just happened? Because after so many years, of course, in profession and playing music making, you do realize like majority of the things, how they are done and how they work and this and that. So those would be the memorable experiences. But in general, also just the energy of the performance, like visual things, like just getting goosebumps and that kind of stuff, doesn't happen as often as you would think when you have like a certain, let's say, immunity to music and to good performances and only expectations. And in a way, I think we musicians are not anymore meant for enjoying performances, because your brain is like always like, thinking, analyzing, relieving, thinking, analyzing, relieving. You don't just let go. So sometimes you can hear someone play or sing that will force you to let go of this, this mental state, and you just go to pure emotion.
Exactly, force,
But very rare. To a ridiculous amount rare.
That's
What
very
about you?
interesting point about. I can't say right now about this a possibility to enjoy a concert that you have less of that if you are like experienced musician with the time. I would need to think about that, maybe not now. But yeah, for me, as many people, I react very much to the authenticity of the performance, especially when you don't feel the border between the performer and the work.
Absolutely.
Because very often you have great performance, but you really see where the performer ends and the work begins, and the communication is very clear.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when the performance itself becomes a work, as I believe it should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
When
absorbs the performer.
absolutely you can, and at that moment you can't really even imagine that it could be done in a different way, and it's so believable and it affects you deeply. When all the accents, I mean all the, I don't mean just technical accents, like dynamics, but emotional, I don't know, structural, and all the accents are in place, and then it just, wow, and exactly what you're saying when you don't know how it's done.
Yeah.
And then it's very special. Yeah, so so please comment and write. Don't forget to write about your
And like and
experience.
subscribe.
Of course, of course.
And of course, do stay in touch.
Yes. Yes.
Bye.
Bye bye.